Hello, everybody. This is yet another edition of Ask a Black Belt. We are super stoked to have our guest on today. We got Maggie. Hey, Maggie. How you doing, Maggie? How are
Hello.
you?
How are you?
Oh, aloha. How have you
Aloha.
been?
Oh, it's nice to hear somebody else say that. It's usually just me saying that to people in Miami and them looking at me like, hi.
I only do it when I'm home. Otherwise, I feel like an
Oh,
imposter.
I do it to everybody who walks in the gym.
Oh, that's awesome. For
Yeah.
those of you watching today, how this segment works is you get to ask questions. So this is the flow of today is dictated by the comments. So if any of you at home have any questions, feel free to chime in the comments and we'll go ahead and read them off.
Yes.
So how are you? I know you're a huge fitness buff. I mean, your whole life revolves around it. How are
Yeah.
you doing in this whole situation?
Actually, for me, it's been a blessing in disguise. Like, I don't love saying that because of obviously a lot of the chaos and the health related issues.
Mhm.
But I really never get time to slow down and work towards business things. And
Yeah.
even like I've been working on my online fitness program since last year, July.
Oh,
And
wow.
yeah, and we had finished all of the filming and stuff, and I thought I was close until I actually sat down and saw how much I needed to do. So right at the beginning when we went into quarantine, I was like, okay, let me plan this out. And I got everything done, and now we're just making promos and stuff like that. So for
Oh,
me, it was
wow.
a blessing in disguise for sure. And I've also been able to work, luckily, one-on-one with my clients in person or in Zoom. Like my clients who might have health risks or over the age of 50, I have Zoom with them. So luckily, me, myself, I'm doing great. The gym's not open, which is hard, but we're doing a
Yeah.
lot for our students to keep them happy and motivated. We give them yoga, fitness, jiu-jitsu every single day. So
Wow.
it's the best it can be given the situation, you know?
Yeah. No,
Yeah.
same thing. Like, I feel like it's a universal pause all across the
Yeah.
board because same thing. I'm going all the time that
Right.
things fall to the side, right? Because you're
Of
always focusing
course.
on moving forward.
And you
So
don't
when you
even
have this
notice
pause,
how much.
oh yeah, and then you like look at the pile and you're like, oh my god, that pile got really big.
Yeah.
So same thing. It's a horrible situation, but I think there is some
Yeah.
good that can come out of this horrible
I
situation.
think there's a lot of good that can come out of it for a lot of people. Like even just not being prepared for something like this, you know, now it like everybody takes financial hits every day sometimes, you know, and it's like those little things like, okay, I need to be better, I need to be better. But now
Hmm.
when something so big happens, I think a lot of people hopefully can take a lot away from it, you know?
Yeah. So I
Yeah.
have a question that came in. What do you recommend? What workout exercise do you recommend most for someone athletic who's starting jujitsu?
Oh, that's the best. Someone athletic starting jujitsu. You're winning already. So the way that I look at workouts is I do believe it's important to lift heavy, but there's a difference in the lifting heavy, okay? There's a lot of people, one of the questions I get asked all the time is like, oh, what's your max? You know, your max deadlift, your max squat. I never max lift because we never do one rep of anything in jiu-jitsu,
Hmm.
especially not at 500 pounds. You know, maybe you ultra heavy guys might get a 500 pounder, but very rarely.
Hmm.
And so I don't think it's as necessary. So what I do with strength and conditioning is I lift as heavy as I can with doing explosive exercises paired with that. So for example, I'm going to do deadlifts. And the way that I do it is going to be 12, 8, 8, 5, 5. Because think of
Hmm.
it, when you're escaping from side control or finishing a takedown or trying to sweep somebody, it's very rare it happens the first time, right? It's usually
Hmm.
the third try or the fifth try or the 8 or the 12, you know? So I like to keep the
Hmm.
reps high, but still they go down enough so where you can really put some weight. But what I'm going to do is right after I do a heavy deadlift, I'm going to go do 8 box jumps or push the sled, because everything you want to create for jiu-jitsu is muscle endurance. So we're still making them strong by lifting as heavy as we can, but only as heavy as we can that we're able to pair it with still explosive exercises. Yeah, so whoever asked that question, I hope that makes sense. In a sense, lift as much as you can, but with a lot of reps and making sure you're keeping those fast twitch muscles strong and activated. So
gotcha. No, that's good. She said that was very helpful.
Good,
Thank
perfect.
you.
And if you go to my Instagram, you won't need to look much further because there's entire workouts there.
Awesome. So someone had asked, what weight do you fight at, or what weight do you walk at? What weight do you fight at?
Okay.
Or compete at?
So I actually walk around medium heavy. Like, I'm a girl, so we know 5 pounds is very easy for us to gain and lose in a matter of a couple hours. So usually medium heavy is 163.5 in the gi. So I usually fight at that. Recently, I've been able not to have to cut. I think just my body's gotten used to the weight cut so much. And once fights get closer, I try to maybe switch dinner for a protein shake, you know, rather than having to jump in the bath the night before, especially because we know IBJJF is get on the scale, get on the mat, which I totally support that. That's totally fine. So yeah, I walk between 158 and 160.
Okay.
Yeah. So I'll fight any weight above, and I'll usually go down to 150. Yeah.
Okay. We have a tip, or we have a question from an aspiring jiu-jitsu gym owner.
Yeah.
She's in she says after high school, she wants to open up her school. Do you have any advice for her?
Make sure you're business minded, not jiu-jitsu minded. There is your secret. And if you ask Cyborg, he will back me up on that, because he was very jiu-jitsu minded just because it's all he knows, you know. But you have to be business to be successful, especially looking at a time like we're in right now. If you don't focus on the business side of it, when something like this happens, you will not be prepared. So whenever anybody who has a jiu-jitsu school, unfortunately, business has to come first. If it's your way of survival. I know there's some people who open gyms because they have the money and they give it to their black belt friend to kind of run. But if that's your goal, if that's what you want to live off of, either you need to be business minded or you need to have somebody running it who's business minded. 100%. Absolutely. With experience.
Absolutely. I know you're I remember when I first met you, and I remember your reputation preceded you, because I remember Egan saying, "Oh, Maggie, you gotta meet Maggie. She's going places. This girl's going places."
He knew. It's so crazy. This is funny. At Blue Belt, I won everything, but I started at American Nationals. So Worlds wasn't until, you know, the next year. I won everything, and everyone's like, purple belt, purple belt, purple belt. And Egan looks at me and he goes, "I'll give you the purple belt if you want it." He goes, "But I want you to win Worlds at every belt." So the second I won brown belt Worlds this year, he's the first person I called to thank. You know, because when they say it then, like, they say that to every athlete, like, whatever, okay, fine, you're the master, sounds good. But when it happened, he's the first person that came into my head was Egan, to thank him for holding me, for sure.
So, and speaking of winning every belt, winning every gold medal or world medal at every belt, you know, you've had an incredibly successful competitive run. What do you think set you apart? Like, is there something that sets you apart, you think, that's allowed you to do that? Or
I think a lot of it is that I do jiu-jitsu because I love jiu-jitsu. I have a career, luckily, that lets me revolve my schedule around jiu-jitsu, but I don't depend on jiu-jitsu for money. I don't depend on winning medals to get seminars to make money. So I think that, one, takes pressure off, you know, and that's usually what I tell people when they go to fight too, like, "Oh, how do you control the nerves?" The first thing I do is go, Does jiu-jitsu pay your bills? And what? 90% of the people are going to say no. Okay, then what's up? What's the pressure? You know?
Yeah.
So I think that's a big part of it. And just loving it. That's the other thing. Like when somebody goes, oh, I'm just starting jiu-jitsu. What's your first piece of advice? Only do it if you love it. If fighting was something that I got super anxiety before, I would never do it. I'm not somebody who can handle anxiety. I can handle pressure. I like pressure. I like the pressure of fighting, but like to where I can't sleep the night before, I would never be able to do it. So I think that helps. And then the third thing would be, I think the fact that it's the first individual sport I've ever done. I've always had a team with me playing. And I'm like the girl in a group project, like, let me do all the work. Like, I'm not trusting you people. So I think having everything on me is actually easier than my team relying on me or me relying on a team. Since I was 4, it's been a team effort. So to be able to step on a mat and be like, hey, you're the only one who can get this done or not done, I think it's something that helps too.
Awesome. What have you ever wanted to quit jiu-jitsu at any point in time?
Never. And that's, I think, the other important thing. I see a lot of people who go through phases where they just disappear and come back, which is totally okay. Again, it all depends on the person. But I'm also very good at taking breaks. After Worlds, after a super fight, I'll take a week or 2 off. I have no issue with that. On a Wednesday, if I don't feel like training, I don't force myself to train. That's the other thing. I've always been a part of a team. I was a Division I athlete. I've never had say in what I do. So I don't let jiu-jitsu control my life. I control my jiu-jitsu life. And even like Cyborg, like if I'm like, nah, I don't feel like training, he's like, okay, you know, like, cause he's the same way. Like he does it because he loves it. So no, I've never wanted to quit before, but I think it's because I'm okay stepping back when I feel like I need a rest.
No, that's important. That's super important.
Yeah.
And I know you're fairly young. How old were you when you started?
I was 22.
Yeah, baby.
So all you people who think you're too old to start, like 22 is kind of old in competitive jiu-jitsu, you know, like being a white belt at 22, but it's not, you guys. It's not at all. Like just because, like, of course I'm catching up to it more now with the girls that I'm fighting have 10 plus years on me, but there's never somebody's 28. Oh yeah, I'm turning 28 next month. So you're good, girl. Get it.
So someone also asked, how long are your cardio sessions and what kind of cardio do you prefer?
So the way I look at cardio, I genuinely do cardio for physique, not for jiu-jitsu, because it's just like if you tell a marathon runner to spar a round of boxing for 3 minutes, they're gonna die. You know, so my cardio for jiu-jitsu is roll when I'm tired. Like when you feel like, oh, I'm gonna sit this round out, that's your cardio. It's not going out and running. You're not gonna go fight somebody running, you know. So I always tell people, if you want to do cardio because you like it mentally, that's one thing. Again, the fasted cardio that I do is solely for physique. Like fitness was my first passion. I care about what I look like. It means a lot to me, you know, and I love sculpting the body. I think it's super cool. But cardio for jiu-jitsu is jiu-jitsu. Roll. Like, of course, everything else I think is more so muscle endurance you create with strength and conditioning. But the cardio for jiu-jitsu is roll when you're tired. Yeah.
We got a question. It says, I'm a female, got my purple belt recently. Blue belt guys and some white belt guys put up a good fight. Is that normal or am I shit?
Wait, they're a purple belt, they said?
She just got her purple belt. And the blue belts and the white belts are giving her a hard time.
Girlfriend, you can never, ever, ever, ever compare yourself to guys. You can't. You don't know if they were an athlete before, and guys are stronger. Even like I'm 160 pounds. My best guy training partners are probably like 145 in a sense of like actually being able to compete with them, because guys are genetically stronger than us. So it's totally fine. And it's really hard for white and blue belt guys to understand jiu-jitsu in a sense of they can get beat by girls. You know, you'll get the blue belts who don't mind. You'll get some people who don't mind. But a lot of the times, those guys are going to use their strength just because they can't get beat by a girl. You know, I was saying this to somebody the other day. Like, there's a purple belt at my school. Like, we go head to head, like, 2 advantages. But I think maybe if it was an actual fight, he could probably advance on me just because of him being a male. So never, ever take getting beat by a male of any jiu-jitsu. He might have no jiu-jitsu. You can never take that personally because you can't compare it.
Yeah, absolutely. Being a fitness buff, what is your favorite exercise?
I would have to pair it with deadlifts and box jumps. It's got to be together. Got to be together.
And so I guess this would be a 2-part, but when you're in competition mode and when you're just training for fun, I used to train for fun all the time, but how often do you practice, and how much is new technique and how much is rolling?
Beautiful. Okay, so that's my other thing again with like taking the pressure off of jiu-jitsu. Let's say on Monday morning, I wake up and in my head, I want to train jiu-jitsu 5 times this week. I want to strength and condition 3 times, and I want to do yoga once. But I don't put that pressure on myself. When I'm 2 weeks out from a fight, I will force myself to go to jiu-jitsu if I'm tired, but I'm just going to drill. I'm not going to roll. Or vice versa. Sometimes your head can't take the drilling and you just have to roll, you know? So like I go into it with that, and I'm always training for competition, always. There's never an off season except for right now. And I'm actually not training jiu-jitsu at all right now because I do jiu-jitsu to fight. And I'm not about to get hurt if there's no fight in line for me. So I'm always training to compete. I try for 5 days a week, but I'm happy with 3 or 4. It's really depending on my body because I care way more about the longevity than in that moment.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's funny because I've talked to a couple other black belts and they've said the same exact thing. Like, I have an academy, I have a training partner, but I just don't feel like it's just not into training right now.
I think it's a girl thing sometimes too. Like, I feel like boys are much more like, I feel like girls, our brains need more of a break sometimes.
Yeah, I think mental, physical, everything.
For sure.
So what has been your favorite thus far in your jiu-jitsu? I know you have a lot of gold medal moments, but what has been your favorite jiu-jitsu memory that you have?
Oh my goodness.
And that's a tough one.
Wow. Yeah. I guess if we're talking like solely jiu-jitsu, it has to be Nogi Worlds brown belt this year because that completed gi and no gi at all belts.
Oh wow.
And it was actually the feeling right before going into the final because it was 3 years just coming to an end, and I was getting my black belt with or without that win, you know, but I knew I was gonna win. Like, I knew I was gonna win that moment. I actually, Flow Grappling got it on video. I'm standing on the side and I just take the biggest deep breath, and it was I have goosebumps thinking about it. It was a really cool feeling just knowing what I had already accomplished and what was about to be completed. It was really cool. Really cool.
Was there a pivotal point for you when you realized that, I know you talked about Egan and he was the first one that believed in you that you could do it, but was there a pivotal point where you started kind of to realize oh, I'm really good at this?
Yeah, it was actually one time when I lost. So I began training for MMA. And I always was better at the ground. I just was. And my uncle knew your game is going to be takedowns, that's what it's going to be. And then when I started training at Egan's, that was because before I was at a Helsing Gracie school, which is not very flowy and sport. It's very self-defense and submission. So when I went to Egan's for an open mat, I just saw a different jiu-jitsu. I was like, okay, like, what are you guys doing? And they were going to Pan Am's, which I didn't know what that was. And they went, and I was like, I want to do one of those that you just did. And so we flew to the San Antonio Open, and I won. And then I won the Vegas Open. And that's when Egan was like, hey, you have to go to Worlds. This would have been blue belt 2016. Would have been my third competition was Worlds. Like, you have to go to Worlds. I'm like, yeah, okay, what the heck? Let's go. And I went, and I lost my second fight. And I told myself, like, because when I went to the San Antonio Open, that's when I committed to jiu-jitsu. I was like, this is what I want to do, not MMA. This is what I want to do. And then I lost at Worlds my second fight in 2016. And at that same time, Raquel and Renato were there. And they had just started dating. And he won brown belt Worlds. And I saw him crying. And I had just lost the day before, you know, and I was upset. I was like, dang. And then I saw Renato crying, and that made jiu-jitsu really real to me. And it made the loss that I took the day before way more. Like, I was still okay with losing, but I was like, this is real. Like, this is people's lives, you know? And then I went undefeated at blue belt. So that was Worlds 2016. I went all the way to the next year, and then won double gold at blue belt. Awesome. So it wasn't so much realizing I was good, but realizing that jiu-jitsu was real.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Being at the level that you are, and I know you train at an academy where, I mean, it's the level is phenomenal all around. And maybe it's not something that happens in your school, but other schools. But do you ever run across people who are kind of intimidated to roll with you? And how do you deal with that if you have? And if not, it's okay too. But
I don't think so. I try to be like a very welcoming person. And of course, like, once you get to black belt, you can roll pretty much with anybody and either control the roll if you have to, or be submissive, because sometimes as a girl, we have to be submissive when we feel guys get, you know, kind of too rough, you know? And like, going back to the girl who was like, oh, I'm a purple belt. Oh, I have blue belt. Sweep me, submit me. And like, in their head, they might be like, oh, dang. But like, I know well enough, like, I'm not going to try to compete with a guy who's actually trying to compete with me. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I've never known, like, I see girls a little bit sometimes, maybe they're excited, but I don't think I don't think so. I don't think I've ever felt that, like, intimidated type of thing. I try to be very, like, because that's the first thing I'll ever do, whether it's my girls that are on the mat or a girl comes to the school or I go to another school, I always go to the girls first.
Yeah, you've always been very welcoming and approachable.
Yeah.
I couldn't see that being an issue.
It's our sport's intimidating. If you put a bunch of intimidating people in it, it's just going to be like chaos.
We'll go ahead and wrap it up. Do you prefer gi or no gi? Do you like them equally? How would you rate that in your heart?
I actually tend to be more dominant in no gi, partially from starting with MMA, partially cyborg. But I like both equally. I don't care what I have to fight. I don't care who I have to fight in gi or no gi, because, you know, sometimes like, oh, I'll fight her in no gi, like, you know. But I like both equally, and I think it's because we train both equally at Fight Sports. We don't have gi and no gi season. We do gi and no gi all year round.
Awesome. We got one more, actually. Do you utilize any breathing exercises when you're rolling to, like, help you not gas out?
So from yoga, yes. If you watch me when I'm training or fighting, a lot of times, most of the time, my mouth is closed and I breathe just through my nose. And that's actually from yoga. Awesome. So that's, I try to stay very calm most of the time.
Awesome. Well, you guys watching, stay tuned. We'll have Maggie come in and show us some of her skills as far as you know, staying fit and in shape and helping out with your jiu-jitsu training. You, like I said, I mean, when I first met you, it was apparent that you were a rising star. You accelerated, and it's really cool to be like an outsider and watch you from being a blue belt, on up to helping to, running an academy and a black belt and winning all these like world champions and now engaged. And it's really beautiful to see how your life has turned out.
Oh, no, I'm very, very blessed. And thank you for being a part of it, really, from the beginning.
Yeah, no, absolutely. But it was a pleasure having you on here today, Maggie. How can people reach you if they want to follow you?
Oh, yeah, guys, just go like from here. Just go at Maggie Grindatti, no BJJ, no, just my full name. You guys can message me any questions you have for sure. It's totally fine, for sure.
Awesome. Well, thank you again, Maggie. You stay healthy, stay safe.
Thank you. You too, and everybody. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much, you guys.
All right. Thanks, guys.